Hey everybody, welcome to BrickVault. From the designer Flying Waffle, we have some oldies but some goodies. This is the Snowspeeder and now also the Sandspeeder. In actuality, this is an updated version of the model from the same designer, and we debuted that I think over 5 years ago. And in actuality, this is the updated version now of a ghost updated version of the Snowspeeder that we did I think 3.5 years ago. So if I haven't confused you enough yet, this is version 5.0, which, trust me, it makes sense. The instructions are at brickvault.toys. This new speeder has an updated interior, weapons build. There are a lot of changes to the core connections, as well as many of the wedge plate combos on the wings for a cleaner and pointier nose. The stand is a little taller and more dramatic, like the Tilda Swinton or Jeff Goldblum of stands. Essentially, the cant angle is just sharper. That makes it more dramatically angled. What am I saying? Also, the speeder comes in white if you are nostalgic for a more classic Lego color scheme. And this time around, Flying Waffle did his rendition of a Sandspeeder, which I'll show you a little bit later in closer detail. So basically, we got a whole combination of build options for you. What's cool about building an update is that I can directly show you how the model has changed compared to the last iteration. So right now, we are looking at the last recorded video evidence of this mock being alive still before I unceremoniously cannibalize it to make the new and improved version. There are a lot of very subtle changes that I'm going to basically gloss over, like slightly different interior details, plus heat dispersion connections in the back. Not really major stuff, but the main thing to note here is the build for the cannons and how they connect. These use 3mm rigid hose pieces. I think my script auto-corrected. Yes, I do script some notes for myself. How do you think I sound so smart all the time? And also a big thing to note here is the general shape of the model for these wedged wings. When you get to the front of the nose, you see how it is a lot flatter and stumpier. That's something that changes up in just a second. Also, please ignore the juicy BMWs that you see in the back. Those definitely aren't maybe some of the next models in the launch lineup or anything. Okay, before I murder the old model, let me just first say that if you wanted to build a custom Snowspeeder for yourself, you can get the instructions at brickvault.toys. With an instructions purchase comes a PDF guide for the build and a digital parts list for ordering your pieces online. All of our models are hand tested for strength and durability. Instructions are also tested to make sure the building steps can be properly followed. Parts lists for the creations are chosen for availability. If you buy instructions from us, you will be able to put this model together in real life. Buying from us also directly supports the talented designers that we work with, and all of the things I just listed above about the store are not necessarily factored into other instructions marketplaces, which is one of the things that makes us a bit different here at BrickVault. We care about the builders and the designers and hope you guys really enjoy making these models for yourselves. So Flying Waffle has some other great models under his belt. Check us out at brickvault.toys. It's linked in the description below. And bye-bye old Snowspeeder. Generally, when you use parts from an old model, you want to take it completely apart before building the new version of the mock. But I didn't do that this time around. I thought it was small enough and it would be fun to keep it in chunks so I could show you this fun comparison shot between the older wing and the newer one for just a second. Note the different kinds of wedge plates on the new wing. This makes it one stud wider compared to the original. And that extra stud gives you just enough space to make the mid connection point for the laser cannon evenly sloped on either side, more accurate. Plus, the new version of the cannon uses all bar pieces that can't bend or warp like the hose from before, so now the barrel can free float along the second half of the wing, which is also more accurate. Lastly, the tip of the wing is pointy, but that'll look a little bit better and more complete when it's all lined up with the rest of the body, so let's finish this off. Alrighty, so here is the completed version now. Well, you saw it in the intro. This is the completed version of the new Snowspeeder. A lot of internal connection and designing had to happen along the core in order to get these slightly different shaped wing plates to all connect at just the right angle. A lot of that you won't really be able to see, but ultimately those little tweaks required a huge amount of redesigning and rebuild time. Now, when flashing between the two builds, a little bit back and forth between the newer version of the Snowspeeder and the older version of the Snowspeeder, we aren't looking at, let's say, groundbreaking detail changes, but instead it feels a little closer to playing a game of, can you spot the 6 differences or something like that. Ultimately, when you're updating an already very well put together custom model, it can be the case that when you are retackling this spaceship design at this very specific scale, ultimately it's just a lot of little tweaks, but really can require just a massive amount of internal changes nonetheless. Very quickly, we're going to take a look at some of the interior shapes for the cockpit. The pilot and co-pilot have slightly different printed pieces this time around. There's also a different build for their front consoles. Technically, some of the side shaping and colors have also changed, like how the seat connects and stuff like that. All you really need to know is basically what the cockpit looks like, and that you can take a fig out or put a fig back in fairly easily. Just like the last version of the model, you have the tow cable in the back. This mechanism is, I think, pretty much exactly the same as the one before, and this tiny little gear piece on the bottom can wind the hook back into the body of the ship. You have the same adjustable wing flaps on the bottom of the Snowspeeder as you do for the top. Alrighty, let's jump very quickly over to the Sandspeeder. Some of you guys might remember the set from 2018 that was based off an old non-canon Star Wars toy design from even a couple decades earlier, blah blah blah. Flying Waffle did his version of this model for fun, and he decided to go, in terms of color scheme, for a more burnt or singed front end look with lots of black pieces towards the front. But there's also, just in case you're wondering, a parts list that's included that allows you to make a more exclusively tan, dark tan version of the build if you prefer. Now, aside from the color change, there are a couple of small details like different turning flap pieces or slightly different rear cannon look, but mainly, the main thing that you can see is that the Sandspeeder now includes these extra fins that come up along the top. It's got a very different kind of vibe, especially from afar. Also, here's a very quick look at the updated stand. There's some clips on the back in case you've got minifigures with accessories if they want to hold on to maybe a blaster pistol or a lightsaber for Luke Skywalker. And there it is, the T-47, the little ship that takes on the Empire, takes out some massive AT-ATs, and whatever the Sandspeeder did, maybe it fought the Empire on Tatooine. You decide. Anyways, let me know what other types of custom models you want to see coming down the way. There's a lot more stuff in the pipeline, mostly Star Wars, but there are some non-Star Wars stuff, like maybe one of the teasers you saw in this video. Thank you so much for sticking around to the end. If you enjoy our content, feel free to like, subscribe, comment, share, do whatever you want to do, and we'll see you next time at BrickVault.